All right, good morning. And today we're going to talk about our medians. Medians are going to be, we already talked about those last week. It's a segment that goes between the midpoint of the side of a triangle and the opposite vertex. Okay, so for example, down here, this is a median. It goes from the midpoint, so E is the midpoint, to the opposite vertex. Vertex meaning that corner or the angle. Okay, and our centroid then, we talked about this also on Friday if you were here, but it's the point where these three medians will intersect. Okay, they all cut at one point called the centroid. So if we look here, I made a misspelling here, but each of the lines below is a median. Okay, so obviously I misspelled it. So right here, EL is our median, which tells us if EL is the median, this is the vertex, this is the midpoint. So we know that EM and EN are the same. So I could mark like this. Therefore, if EM is 10, we want to know what NM is, the whole thing. 10 plus 10 will be 20. Okay. Meanwhile, in example 2, once again, it's the midpoint. T is, so TF and TG are the same. If TF is 6.3, find GF. 6.3 plus 6.3, it'll be 12.6. Now, we aren't always given the same information. So in this one, if we look, we're trying to find LJ, and we have IJ. The whole thing here is 6. Now, a couple things on this. We know that JN and NK are the same. We also know that JL and IL are the same, but they're not the same as JN and NK, so I had to put 2 marks there. So if the whole thing's 6, we can divide that by 2, and we'll get 3 for each side. And your final one then, if FE is what we're trying to find, this, we know that they're the same. TE is 8, so the whole thing will be 16. 8 plus 8. Okay, now, this is something we haven't talked about yet, and it's probably kind of the big takeaway of the centroid here. So our centroid theorem, this will always be the case. The centroid of a triangle is always located 2/3 of the distance from the vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. So from A to X, that whole distance, A to the centroid, is 2/3 of that distance. So if you think about it, if this is 2/3 of the total distance, that leaves us with 1/3 right here. It's not just for that example though. From C to P is 2/3, so this is 1/3. From B to P is 2/3, so this is 1/3. Okay, all of those are true. Now, if we think about that, then that means if the whole distance here from A to X was, say, 21, then we know 2/3 of that will be right here, 1/3 of that right there. So 1/3, 2/3, 2/3 of 21. We can divide by 3. 21 divided by 3 is 7. So the bottom will be 7, times it by 2, and we'll get 14. Now you might notice also then that the 2/3 is twice as big as the 1/3. Okay, so if we knew that this was, say, 6, then the whole distance we would know would be 18, and this part would be 12, twice as big. Okay, now we have to be careful. We have to see what they asked. So if G is our centroid here, we know that these two opposite sides, or these two, are the same. E is a midpoint. So we can do 7t minus 8 equals 5t plus 14. Subtract the 5t. Add 8. Divide by 2. And we get t equals 11. Okay, your next one, example 6. Same approach. You'd set those equal to each other. If we solve that, I'm not going to just to save time, but you will get A equals 4. If you need help with that one, send me an email, I'll reach out, and I'll help you. Okay, so now, example 7. We know once again that G is our centroid. So if G is the centroid, we know that this is 2/3 and this side is 1/3. Okay, in order for them to be the same or equal, if we have 1/3 and we are trying to get it to be the same as 2/3, we have two options. We can either add it with itself, 1/3 plus 1/3, or another way to say that is we multiply it by 2, and that will give us 2/3. Okay, so if I multiply this small one by 2, so 3n times 2, that will equal 5n plus 9. I'll get 6n equals 5n plus 9. Subtract the 5n, and we'll get n equals 9. All right, number 8. We're going to solve for t. We look here, we got this chunk, this chunk. We know the small one, this is the 1/3, this is the 2/3, okay? So in order to solve this, we can multiply the small one by 2. So we'll multiply that by 2. So we'll get 6t plus 8 equals 9t plus 5. Subtract 5, subtract 6t, divide, t equals 1. Okay, one final section here. Let me get rid of this so you guys can see it better. Each of these is a different example, so each time we have to reset. It says AG. We're trying to find AG if AE is 15. So this whole distance is 15. If that is the case, we want to know what AG is. We know that is 2/3 of the total distance. Total distance is 15. 2/3 of that total distance will be 10. All right, our next one. If GF is what we're trying to find, so this little chunk, if BF, the whole thing, is 24. We know on that side, since it's from the midpoint, that's 1/3 of the distance. So 1/3 of 24 divided by 3, 24 divided by 3 is 8. Okay. Now the next one says CD is what we're trying to find. So we want to know what that whole distance is from C to D. We know that CG is 34. It's up to you. You can say that the whole distance would be x, do 2/3 of x would equal 34. That would work. Okay, the other option is if this is 2/3 of it, then this is 1/3. We could divide that by 2. 34 divided by 2 is 17. And at that point, 17 plus 34, I can add that together and get 51. Okay, 3 more and then I'm done for the day. So this one, if AG is 54. So AG is 54. We want to know what GE is. Once again, if that's 1/3, AG is 2/3. We can divide by 2. 54 divided by 2 will give us 27. All right. BF if GF is 12. So if this is 12, we want to know what the whole distance is. Now GF is 1/3 of the distance, so we can just multiply by 3 and we'll get 36. And then the final one, find CG if DG is 9. So we can multiply by 2 and we will get 18. Hope you guys have a great day. There was no assignment today, but make sure to continue to stay on top of your missing work. We're almost done with the semester, okay? So tests will be coming up at the end of this week, or I guess it's a quiz, and then our final is next week. Talk to you later. Bye.